This person has begun to recognize your importance, and I want to tell you right from the start that this realization did not appear out of nowhere. It wasn't a random thought, it wasn't a passing impulse, it wasn't just longing for a beautiful moment. It was something that matured inside, in silence, after many attempts to deny what they feel, to minimize your presence, and to pretend that missing you made no difference. Except that now, it is no longer possible to sustain this emotional lie. Something changed, and when this kind of change happens in someone's heart, the energy around them changes too. Perhaps you have already felt this. Perhaps in the last few days, you have noticed a different tightness in your chest, a sudden memory, a feeling that something is moving behind what the eyes can see. And I will speak to you with sincerity. When a person begins to recognize the importance of someone who truly marked their life, they can no longer look at everything the same way as before. I know that hearing this stirs something deep inside, especially when there has been silence, distance, delay, confusion, or even actions that made you question whether you were seeing love where only illusion existed. Many people who come across a message like this already arrive with a tired heart, trying to appear strong on the outside, but on the inside, only wanting to understand why certain connections remain alive even after so much distance. And if that is your case, stay with me until the end, because this message did not arrive by chance. There is something important happening in this person's heart, and what the angels show is that they have begun to look at you with a different kind of awareness. Not just with memory, but with value. Not just with emotion, but with recognition. What used to be treated with distraction now carries weight. What used to be left for later now returns to the mind at the most unexpected moments. What used to seem surmountable now begins to show itself as irreplaceable. This is because there are people who are only truly understood when they step away. And I know this can seem unfair. In my view, it is one of the things that hurts the most in certain stories. You give presence, affection, attention, truth, and the other person only understands what they received when they no longer have you around in the same way. But as painful as that seems, the angels show me that this recognition has begun, and once it begins, it grows. This person has been reliving scenes, remembering details, reconsidering conversations, and seeing with more clarity what you represented. It is not just about noticing that you were missed. It is deeper than that. It is realizing that you occupied a place that no one else could occupy with the same truth. It is remembering your ways, your energy, your patience, your way of understanding even what wasn't said out loud. It is noticing that there was comfort in your presence, strength in your care, light in your love. And perhaps this took a long time to be understood, because when we get used to something precious, we run the risk of failing to see the value it holds. But now, this person has begun to see it. Before we continue, write this mantra in the comments. I am valued for my light, for my love, and for my truth. Write it with faith, because when we declare something like this, the heart begins to align with what heaven wants to strengthen within us. Now stay with me, because there is still a part of this message that you need to understand. The angels show that this recognition did not come just from longing, it also came from comparison. This person tried to go about their days, occupy their mind, perhaps surround themselves with other conversations, other distractions, other environments, but at some point, they realized that what they received from others did not have the same depth, nor the same warmth, nor the same peace. And that is when a difficult truth began to hit. You were not ordinary in their life. You were not just another presence. You were someone who made a difference in a rare way. And when rarity is perceived late, it weighs twice as much, for the beauty of what was lived, and for the fear of what might have been lost. Perhaps this person does not have the courage yet to say all of this clearly. Perhaps they remain in silence, observing, feeling, thinking too much. But inside there is movement, there is the breaking of pride. There is internal confrontation. There is a voice saying that you were truly important. And I think it is important to tell you this in the most honest way possible. Recognizing is not the same thing as acting. Not every person who understands another's value knows immediately what to do with that discovery. Some freeze, some delay, some want to come back but feel ashamed. Others are afraid of finding you different, stronger, more distant, more aware of your own worth. So do not confuse silence with indifference. In many cases, silence is precisely the place where the reality has begun to sink in. Have you ever noticed how certain connections keep stirring us even as time passes? How sometimes a person tries to move on, but something always brings you back to their memory? The angels show that this has been happening frequently. A detail of the day, a song, a place, a phrase, a certain time, a strange feeling in the chest. All of this has served as a point of contact with the memory of your energy. And it is not just nostalgia, it is awareness. It is the heart beginning to admit what the mind tried to push away. I want to ask you for something right now. Take a deep breath for a moment. Place your hand on your heart and notice how this message touches a real place inside you. Because when heaven confirms something like this, it doesn't do it to trap you in anxiety. It does it to bring you clarity. It does it to calm what was confused. It does it to remind you that what you offered with truth did not go unnoticed, even if for a long time it seemed quite the opposite. The angels show that this person began to recognize your importance precisely because your absence opened up a space that is impossible to ignore. When you were present, many things seemed natural. Your support seemed guaranteed. Your care seemed constant. Your listening seemed available. Your permanence seemed certain. But when the presence changes, the value appears with more sharpness. And then the heart understands what it previously treated as a detail. You were not a detail. You were an important part of this person's emotional balance. Now, I want to ask you for something simple but powerful. Write 777 in the comments as an act of agreement with this message and as a sign of spiritual clarity about this connection. And if this word is truly touching your heart, you can support this channel through the QR code that appears in the video or through the donation link in the description and pinned comment. This gesture helps this message continue to reach people who are also in need of direction, comfort, and faith at this time. What the angels want you to understand is that this person's recognition is also accompanied by regret. Not always an open regret, not always something spoken, but an internal discomfort for not having given the proper value at the right time. And I know this is hard to hear because many people think, now they notice after everything. Yes, sometimes it is like that. Sometimes emotional maturity comes late. Sometimes a person only sees the greatness of who they had by their side after they lose easy access, the routine, the safety, the certainty that you would always be there. But there is an important part here. True recognition shakes the structure of the one who feels it. This person has begun to revisit their own mistakes, to notice small actions that hurt, silences that weighed heavily, absences that created distance, and flaws that were previously justified. And when someone does this with sincerity, an internal change begins, albeit slow, albeit imperfect, albeit silent. The heart begins to prepare itself to own what it feels. I receive many stories similar to this one, and one thing always catches my attention. Whoever truly recognizes the importance of someone can never treat that person the same way as before. They might try to keep up appearances, they might take their time, they might pretend everything is normal, but on the inside, everything has already reorganized itself. And the angels show exactly that here. This person can no longer think of you as someone replaceable. They can no longer reduce what they felt. They can no longer fit you into the slot of a simple past. You became marked upon their soul, Perhaps a part of you still doubts it. Perhaps you think this is just loneliness, just a phase, just guilt, or just confusion, and I understand. After certain disappointments, we learn to mistake everything for a trap so we don't get hurt again. But there is a difference between an impulsive emotion and a deep recognition. Impulsive emotion passes quickly. Deep recognition transforms the way a person looks at the story, at themselves, and at you. That is what is happening. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and stay around. There are many people who arrive tired, not knowing where to turn emotionally, and find a breathing space in these messages. Perhaps today, this word is for you, and tomorrow it will be exactly the word someone else will need to hear. The angels show me something even more delicate. This person has begun to feel afraid, and it is not fear of the feeling, it is the fear of realizing it too late. Fear that you might no longer want them. Fear that another phase has begun in your life. Fear that your heart is no longer available. Fear that the opportunity slipped away through pride, delay, confusion, or immaturity. And this fear carries a very heavy weight, because it comes precisely when someone's value becomes undeniable. I'm going to tell you something with a lot of affection. When a person begins to recognize your importance, they also begin to realize that they didn't have the control they imagined. They perhaps thought they could come back whenever they wanted, that you would stay there the exact same way, that time wouldn't change anything. Except that time changes things. Pain brings maturity. Absence teaches. The woman who waits also learns to choose herself. And the angels show that this person is feeling this. They are realizing that you are not someone to be left on an emotional pause. They are understanding that your value does not align with eternal indecision. This does not mean you need to harden yourself or close your heart. It only means you need to continue seeing yourself with the value that heaven already sees in you. Because one of the most beautiful things about this message is precisely this. Even before the other person recognized your importance, God already knew every detail of what you carried in your heart. Every gesture you made in silence, every difficult night, every prayer, every hope, every tear, every effort to maintain your dignity, even when you were hurt. None of it was invisible. There is something very important happening behind this situation. You are also being called to recognize your own importance. Yes, the person has begun to see it, but you need to see it too. You need to stop diminishing yourself because of someone else's emotional delay. You need to stop thinking that your sensitivity is an excess, that your devotion is a weakness, or that your love was small just because it wasn't valued at the right time. In my view, one of the most powerful healings is when a woman stops begging for recognition and starts positioning herself as someone who knows her own worth. Write a list in the comments of people, including yourself, whom you would like to forgive. Visualize each of them. Send love and say, "I forgive you and I release you. May peace be with you." Do this calmly. There are liberations that do not begin with the other person's answer, but with the peace you decide to build within yourself. The angels show that this person's recognition also came because you stopped, in a way, chasing after what insisted on remaining undefined. Even if you still feel it, even if you still think about it, something in you changed. Perhaps it was the tiredness, perhaps it was the pain, perhaps it was maturity, perhaps it was God pulling you back to the center. And when that happens, your energy shifts. You stop emitting desperation and start emitting presence. You stop emitting lack and start emitting value. And then the other person feels it. Yes, they feel it. Even without a logical explanation, they feel it. Because the energy of someone who pulls back with dignity speaks loudly. The energy of someone who loves but does not abandon themselves carries weight in the spiritual realm. The energy of someone who suffers but does not lose their essence draws attention. And the angels show that this person felt this change. They felt the difference in your field, in your posture, in your absence, in your silence. And it was in that space that they began to understand who you truly were. Perhaps this person is observing from afar. Perhaps they are trying to find out how you are, what you feel, if there is still an open door. Perhaps they are revisiting old conversations, photos, memories, trying to find a way back to the point where everything felt safer, except that now it is no longer like before, because now awareness exists, and awareness brings weight, responsibility, and truth. I want to ask you a very sincere question. If this person clearly recognized everything today, would your heart be ready to listen? Not to accept just anything, but to truly listen? This question matters because sometimes we spend so much time waiting for recognition that when it finally approaches, we no longer know what to do with it. That is why this message is not just about the other person. It is also about you preparing yourself emotionally for what may come. The angels say there is still movement in this story. It's not all finalized in the place you imagined, but they also show that the most beautiful outcome is not just being recognized by this person. It is being recognized by yourself. It is being able to look at your own story and say, I loved with truth. I was important. I left a mark. I didn't invent what I felt. This brings peace. This restores strength. This prevents you from diminishing yourself because of someone's delays. The angels are sending you a special sign. Your lucky number for today is 8. Write in the comments, I receive the energy of the angels. My lucky number is 8 and I receive this message with faith. The number 8 carries strength, value, maturity, and return. It speaks about what seemed lost, but began to reorganize itself in another way. What lies ahead depends on choices, courage, and truth. The angels do not show an empty story here, nor a passing emotion. They show a recognition that was born in this person's heart and has already begun to change the way they feel your absence. Now, whether this will transform into action, time will tell. But heaven wanted you to know today that your presence left a mark, your love left a mark, your way of caring left a mark, and that can no longer be denied by the one who has finally begun to open their eyes. Share this video with 2 dear people who need this message today. And if you can, also leave a prayer for your guardian angel in the comments. There are moments when a single phrase written with faith transforms into comfort for someone who is fighting in silence. I feel in my heart that this message came to rescue you from an old doubt. It came to dismantle the feeling that you were small, easy to forget, or simple to replace. You weren't. This person began to recognize your importance because your truth spoke louder than any attempt to deny the connection between you. Time may have delayed this understanding, but it could not erase it. If this message spoke to you, write in the comments. My value will be recognized at the right time, and my heart will remain at peace. Share your experience, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more messages like this. Thank you for being here with me. May God deeply bless your life, strengthen your heart, and illuminate your next steps. Until the next video.